Hey, what's up everybody? Johnny Browning from Veteran Shirts and Decals here. So in today's video, this will be my first tutorial by the way. Welcome to the inaugural one. I'm going to teach you how to, one, make a one color vinyl decal sticker. And then in the next video, we'll do a two color vinyl decal sticker. And then the third video following that, and I'm gonna try to do them all three today, we're going to put both of them on a vehicle. So stick around, watch the rest of this clip, and come back and see the others for the finished product. See you soon. Okay, so welcome aboard. Here we are on the laptop, and I'm just going to, I already have it open up, and so I'm just going to enlarge Silhouette Studio. Like I said, I have the business edition. Okay, so some of the functions or features, depending on what edition you have, may not be in the same spot, or maybe you don't have them. It just depends. Of course, it's like that with all software. But everything I'm doing, you can do from any edition. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go merge a file. So I have an open blank screen. I could open a file, but I can only open it if it's going to be a Silhouette extension file. And if I open it, it won't actually open it and put it in this one. It'll put it in its own box and leave this one blank. So anything I merge, I'm going to merge onto this one. And if I can merge more than one object, and as long as I'm merging, it'll always bring that object into the screen that I happen to be on at that moment in time. Okay, so we're going to go File, Merge, and I've selected out a good one for us to use today. I'm just going to bring in this Happy St. Patty's Day graphic. All right, so we have it there. It's all set. Now this file is pretty good. It's straight one color. It's straight letters going across, a clover, and then an outline border going around it. So if I take this over and try to send it right now using the send button over to my cutter, it's not going to send anything. It doesn't recognize that anything is there ready to cut. So we have to prep it for that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here to my right side toolbar, and I'm going to click on Trace Panel. So I'm going to open that up, and what I'm going to do is just select my trace area, and it's real easy. I'm just going to draw a box, drag and drop, left click and drop a box around the area that I want to cut. So I'm going to release it, and it's going to identify, and everything that it identifies as something that's cuttable or recognizable, it's going to highlight in yellow. Okay, so if it doesn't quite get everything, every once in a while you'll do this and there'll be a spot that it didn't get, or missing part of a letter or part of a design. And that's just simply because those designs might have been a little shadowed. Maybe they didn't quite stick out as much. You can usually fix that by adjusting your threshold. You see we're on 45 right now. I could bump that up to 79. And when I do, it doesn't change this one too much. I go up to 93. It still doesn't change this one that much because, like I said, this was a pretty solid design. But if I go down to 12, then I start to lose it. And as I come up, it's probably going to be an all or nothing. So this is an all or nothing. It either reads it or it don't. Sometimes if it doesn't quite get something, or you want it to do a little better on the lines, you can adjust your despeckle threshold, and that can sometimes help it zoom in or zoom out or get it a little better, just kind of get the little details. And what I like to do on some designs, you got to play with this a little more. Now, if you notice, I've done that, and it's missing all my stuff. It's missing that I and all the stuff in the middle there. As I take this up, I start to lose even more of it. But as I take it down, I get it all back. High pass, again, it's just part of the adjustments. I'm not exactly sure how that, what it's looking for, what it's doing. I just know that sometimes I adjust it up and down, and it helps my image out. And so it's something I just play with, quite frankly. Scale, I usually take this down. This usually makes it a little more readable if it's lower. See how on the outside we lose a little bit of the detail? Bring it all the way down to the minimum, and we got it there. So this looks pretty good to me. We're going to roll with that. And so once I think I've got it good the way I want it, I'm just going to come over here and hit Trace. All right, and because this was an easy design, it traced it out pretty quickly. So all I got to do now is click anywhere on the design, the color, hold I left clicked and held and drag it out of the way. I could delete that right now if I want to. I have formed the habit of not deleting that stuff, just moving it off of my screen out of the way. Anything that's outside of this box won't be cut. So as long as I move it outside, because sometimes when you're cutting, it's nice to go back and look at it and be like, gosh, where was my negative? Where was my positive space? Because sometimes when you look at these lines, and this is an easy design, but some designs it can be hard to figure out where to start or what stays and what goes. So I like to be able to refer back to this. Okay, so this design, as I zoom in on it, you can see the lines are pretty good on this one. They're pretty straight. They're pretty even. There's not a lot of jaggedness. In fact, as I go over, select the design, and come over here to the left to my point editor and click on that and show me all the points and shows me all the connections of all the raw lines going through there, you'll notice that I don't have a lot of them. They're pretty spaced out. This A looks like it's a little clustered in there on certain parts, but overall the design isn't bad. The lines aren't bad. And because of what it is, this is something I probably wouldn't mess with. Now, in a follow-up video, I'm going to bring up a design that's really bad and the lines are jagged, and I'm going to take you to the process of adjusting those and making everything smooth so you get nice smooth cuts. Remember, whatever your lines look like on here, that's how your cutter is actually going to cut them. So if you got a nice smooth line coming around, then your cutter is going to cut a nice smooth line. If it's kind of jagged, it's still going around, but it's jagged, then your cutter is going to cut it in a jagged pattern. So it's always something I like to look at. But I like this. I like the way it looks, so we're going to roll with it. Now, because this is a decal, a vinyl decal, I don't have to reverse my image. If this was an HTV, a heat transfer vinyl we were doing, I would have to reverse the image. We'll do that in a follow-on video. So for right now, I like this, so I'm going to take it up into my very corner, and I'm going to look at my size. Right now, my size is just about 9 inches wide by 5.1 inches tall. That's a little larger than I want for this decal, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to reduce it down. And we're going to go just about 6 inches wide. Okay, now if I want that exact, I could always come up here to my width and height up here, but I would want to lock it first. If I want to keep the same ratio, I would lock it, and then I could come in, I could just type 6, hit enter, and it would make it exactly 6, and it would proportionally make it as high as it needs to be. So now that we're good there, I'm going to do one last thing before I send this over to my cutter, and that is I'm going to draw a box, a weeding box around it. So I just went over, selected a rectangle, boom, pulled it over, click, drag, and drop, and put it around. Now before I click on this again, I need to switch back to my select pointing tool, because if I would have stayed on the box and I would have tried to click on something and move it, I just would have drawn another box and another box, and we obviously don't want to do that. Okay, so I go back to my selection arrow, select that, and then I like to take both of those once I get them, and I can make some adjustments to get this in there a little just to save on some vinyl, and I'm okay with that right there. So then I like to take both. I always like to group them together. That way if I gotta grab it, move it around, the box goes with it. And I'm going to put it right up in my upper left hand corner. So I'm looking at just over 6 inches, including the box, and just about 4 including the box. So I'm probably going to do a 6.5 by 4 inch piece of vinyl that I'm going to put down on my cutter here in just a minute. And that's the next step we're going to do before we send this over to the software. So we'll pause right there and we'll switch off over to another thing here for just a moment. So essentially, we're doing the cutout right here, and I have fast forwarded through this portion so you don't have to sit here for the 2.5 minutes while it's cutting that little simple design. When it's done, I'm just going to peel it out and get ready for the next section. So with our cutting now finished, just unloaded it from the cutter over there, we're going to go ahead and start the weeding process now. Okay, so I'm just going to fast forward through this part. I just did the weeding and put the transfer tape on. Next thing we're going to do is take these 2 decals out and apply them to the truck window. See you there.